First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Good evening and welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Isabella Leandri.
And I'm Avery, Lotz. Thanks for joining us.
The highly anticipated 2023 legislative session starts tomorrow, and some serious topics are on the agenda.
WUFT's Chris Will is live now from Tallahassee. Chris, what can we expect to see in this legislative session?
Yeah, that's right. Certainly a lot of expectations and a lot on the agenda for this legislative session. Republicans hold a 2/3 majority in both the Florida House and the Florida Senate, so it's expected to be a major push towards Governor Ron DeSantis' possible 2024 election campaign. Now, some major issues on the docket for the DeSantis administration include education reforms such as DEI reforms and critical race theory. Now, also on DeSantis' radar and possibility, according to political experts, is the possibility of the removal of the resign and run policy. That would allow Governor Ron DeSantis to remain in the governor's office while running for president in 2024. Now, we'll get a much better scope of the priorities for Republicans in this cycle at his State of the State address tomorrow, set to start at 11 a.m. Now, of course, WFT will be inside the state capitol all day tomorrow, providing you updates that you can catch on First at 5 tomorrow. Reporting live from the state capitol, Chris Will, WFT News. Back to you.
Thanks, Chris. WUFT TV will provide live coverage of the governor's State of the State address. The program will start at 11 a.m. tomorrow. In Gainesville, a 16-year-old is now behind bars and charged with murder. Police say Elijah Moore had a loaded handgun on him when officers spotted him Sunday morning. He was wanted for a February 16th shooting at a Gainesville apartment. With tomorrow being the first day of the legislative session, Florida associations are calling citizens to action, specifically in support of public education. The United Faculty of Florida and the Florida Education Association will host a Public Education Day of Action and press conference tomorrow. The associations urge all supporters of public education in the state of Florida to participate in the 3-7 Challenge. The challenge calls for allies to make 3 phone calls and write 7 emails to Florida officials asking them to protect public education in the Sunshine State. The associations are particularly against the legislation Governor DeSantis has promoted regarding public education, including House Bill 7, also known as the Stop Woke Act, a classroom censorship bill which restricts Florida educators and students from speaking on issues related to race and gender in higher education classrooms.
We want to see 10,000 points of contact driven to Governor DeSantis, the House Speaker Renner, and Senate President Pasadomo, all unanimously calling for what we fundamentally believe is our right as Americans: freedom. Freedom to learn, freedom to read, freedom to think, and to not have Big Brother DeSantis or other legislators leaning over our shoulders and telling us who we can and can't be and what we can and can't believe. We are adults. We are citizens of the United States. We have the right to make those decisions for ourselves.
The UFF and FEA will hold a virtual press conference with Florida elected officials tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Local colleges and universities across the state will also be participating. We reached out to the office of Governor DeSantis but did not hear back in time for this newscast. A Gainesville boy passed away in a retention pond on Thursday.
The pond is located behind Celeste's Pet Spa, located in the Oakwood Commons Shopping Center.
The 4-year-old's uncle was standing by the pond today grieving. He says he's taken off work the past few days to come to the pond. He and his entire family is devastated about this tragedy. Flowers, balloons, and some of Cash Waylon Hodges' favorite things were placed in front of the pond. Gainesville Police Department's Public Information Officer David Chudzik says the mom and dad of the child were working at the pet salon.
Mom needed to run some errands, and so dad was watching the child. And as any parent will tell you, in a split second, you can look one way and your child goes another way. And that's what happened in this case. The child managed to make his way out of the store. There's a breezeway there that's between the business and between 2 businesses that leads out to the back area where the pond is. And he managed to go down there, and, you know, kids with their curiosity, he walked down to the pond, and there's a steep incline there, and right at the base of the water, it gets really soft, and that's where he fell in.
The 4-year-old's uncle, Nathan Figueroa, says Doritos was his favorite snack. He also loved Yoo-Hoos, which Figueroa placed in front of the pond. Figueroa did not want to speak on camera. The Gainesville Police Department is still investigating.
An update now on an Alachua County cat cruelty case. Patricia Garibaldi was back in court this morning. You may remember the county is trying to keep her from ever owning cats again. The county seized more than a dozen cats after animal enforcement agents found them living in, quote, deplorable conditions. Roaches in food bowls along with trash, urine, and feces everywhere. Agents found 2 cats dead, the others flea infested and in bad shape. A county spokesperson told us the judge didn't make a decision today about Garibaldi or the fate of the felines, which are currently in their custody, and instead asked both sides to submit their recommendations by Wednesday.
The suspect in a Lake City shooting turned himself in after escaping police officers in a car chase. The shooting happened Friday at a convenience store on Lake Jeffrey Road. 1 person was injured. Surveillance video led police to search for 29-year-old Ike Vanquez Henderson. Officers say he led them on a car chase, tossed the gun out the window, and later took off running. Deputies and K-9 units could not find him, but he turned himself in the next day.
WUFT's Daniella Rudolph joins us now with the weather forecasts. Daniella, what should we expect this week?
Thank you, ladies. We actually have a really beautiful week ahead of us. Taking a look at our campus cam right now, it's warm for this time of day, 85 degrees, no wind really. You can see that the skies are clear and it's a really lovely afternoon, and it's going to be a really lovely evening too. Take a look at our storm tracker. Skies are going to be clear except for a few isolated showers across this part, but it's not really anything to be worried about. I wouldn't even really pack an umbrella, but it's going to be really beautiful for the remainder of the day. If you are planning on heading out tonight, if you're staying in, it's a really, really great night to spend out on your porch, barbecuing, and it's starting out at 82 at 6 p.m. so it's going to be really warm, only dropping to 70 this evening. It's going to be clear and sunny. Back to you.
We have an update on traffic plans for anyone traveling through Marion County near Ocala tonight. The State Department of Transportation had plans to close parts of I-75 in Marion County overnight. An FDOT official says they are postponing this step of the project. No new closure date has been announced. These maps show what the detours will be once this project goes into effect. The plan would have closed all northbound lanes of the interstate at Country Road 484 to fix the Southwest 66th Street Bridge over I-75. St. Patrick's Day is just around the corner, and this year the Irish are in luck.
That's right, the orange and blue were headed to the Emerald Isle. WUFT's Kennedy Mason and I visited the Florida Gator Marching Band's practice yesterday to listen to them prepare for a historic trip. And I gotta say, you don't want to miss this.
Flags flying through the air, drummers rat-tat-tatting, a conductor keeping beat before a sea of hundreds of musicians. All below an orange and blue sunset. Sunday's practice was an important one for the Florida Gators Marching Band. It was the last one before the Gators gear up and cross the pond March 14th. This year, the band is heading to Ireland after an invitation from the Lord Mayor of Dublin and the Lord Mayor of Cork to perform in St. Patrick's Day festivities. The Pride of the Sunshine will perform 3 different times: at the St. Patrick's Festival Parade in Cork, the International Band Championship in Limerick, and at a standstill concert at the St. Patrick's Festival in Dublin. Assistant band director Chip Berkner, who oversaw the Sunday practice with Professor Jay Watkins, said the Gators have earned that invitation.
Our students have worked really, really hard to gain a pretty good national reputation and represent our university and our state and our country well, so I think that's why they've earned the right to perform there.
Current members of the marching band have not performed overseas together. In fact, the marching band has not performed outside of the U.S. since the 2012 London Olympics. Yet this year, the luck of the Irish was in the Gators' favor. The University of Florida spring break lined up perfectly with the St. Patty's celebrations. Colby Tomasello, a fourth-year student at the University of Florida and a drum major in the Gator Band, is one of the 350 students making the trip.
Really excited to showcase some of our marching ability and how American college marching bands do it, as well as some standstill to rock out some tunes.
He called the trip, quote, a perfect capstone to a perfect year. The Gators will play a variety of local favorites, like Tom Petty's Runnin' Down a Dream and You Are My Sunshine, along with some Irish tunes like Danny Boy. And the students certainly are running down a dream. Avery, Lotz, WUFT News.
Wow, they sound amazing, and that sunset.
I'm telling you, this Gator senior and very Irish individual was feeling all the nostalgia. I even forgot I was afraid of heights while getting that overhead shot there.
Well, you did it.
I'm glad I did too. And we have another out of this world story about some superstar middle schoolers. That and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. Federal investigators are looking into another train derailment in Ohio involving Norfolk Southern. There was no chemical spill this time, but the accident is raising new questions just weeks after the toxic derailment. Norfolk Southern says the train did have liquid propane and ethanol on board, but nothing hazardous in the 28 train cars that derailed. As you can see in this dash cam footage of the derailment, you can see a driver backing away from a railroad crossing as multiple rail cars come off the tracks. State lawmakers are thinking about new regulations to promote safety.
In the Ohio House and Legislature right now, we're obviously looking for all of the things that will come out of these incidents so that we can find good legislation if it needs to be formed and passed, that we can do that and ensure the safety of our residents in Ohio.
Congress is also talking about rail safety reform. The CEO of Norfolk Southern is expected to testify on Capitol Hill on Thursday. One Marion County middle schooler is waiting to watch her very own science project launch to space.
WUFT's Elena Barrera spent time with the 11-year-old behind the science. Elena, how did someone so young accomplish this?
Great question, Avery. I don't know about you, but at 11, I certainly was not worried about the effects of gravity on protein production. For this exceptional student, science has always been her main passion.
Tucked away in a lab, one student sits, content, hard at work.
Separate these things into 4 sections and use different concentrations of the lysozyme solution for each one to see if they equilibrate any of them.
This 11-year-old is taking her affinity for science out of this world. Colin Sheldon's project was selected to be tested at the International Space Station. A year of trial and error turned to success.
It's science, so you can never really give up on science, can you? It's too awesome.
Collins and her mentors have spent countless hours in this lab here, gloving up to get ready to go to space.
Collins is amazing. First of all, she is very determined and she doesn't know failure. We do know failure, but we don't end there. She persevered through 100 trials, I don't know. She was bound and determined that she was going to do this.
Colin's experiment will test whether microgravity affects the amount of protein produced in E. coli. Once results come back from space, she will compare them to ones collected here on Earth. Her advanced knowledge is admirable. North Marion High School teacher Carla Reedy says she wishes her students worked as hard as Collins.
With the older students, they should be a lot more capable, and some of them are, but a lot of them just don't have the motivation. And it's that motivation, that hard work, that effort that makes all the difference, I think, with Collins.
Her success and work ethic has not gone unnoticed by her friends.
They were like, okay, you're famous now. Can I get your autograph? Text me your autograph.
Collins says she couldn't have done it without her support system. Teachers, family, and friends all are standing by waiting to see how this space launch will ignite her career.
For a more in-depth look at other science going to space in the state, visit Allison Williams' Fresh Take Florida story at WUFT.org. Back to the Yankers.
I've noticed it hasn't been raining as much here in Rainsville lately.
Yeah, and it's been feeling like a lot hotter than I'm used to.
Yeah, so actually we are in our dry season, but however, 88% of the state is actually experiencing a drought condition. So stay with us to see exactly where and how you'll be affected.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
So we do have that warm weather and those clear skies ahead for the remainder of the week. It isn't spring, but we are having those springtime feels. Take a look at our temperatures right now. As I said, some parts of the state are experiencing those drought feelings. So 84 in Gainesville and 80 across the board, even though it is the evening right now, that's really high right now. But if you are heading out this evening, taking a stroll, heading out onto your porch, it is going to be a really lovely evening. Clear skies and warm temperatures, dropping into those high 60s, but nothing really cool for the rest of the evening. But if you are going to be heading out onto your porch, let's take a look at some stargazing opportunities that you have this week with those beautiful clear skies. The Sirius star is the brightest star in the sky, and at 7:45 p.m. tonight, it's going to be the brightest we've seen it probably for the remainder of the year. The full worm moon is going to be coming tonight and tomorrow, which is really interesting because you'll see it for both nights instead of one. And the zodiacal light is basically just the dispersion of light across the horizon, giving that really beautiful northern light Milky Way look. So definitely, if you are going to be stargazing tonight, definitely keep a lookout for that. But if you are heading out onto campus tomorrow, let's see what's in store for you. Starting out the day at 9 a.m., that beautiful 68 degrees for a warm day, going to a record high at 3 p.m. at 87 degrees. However, despite the beautiful weather and the warm temperatures, there is going to be some patchy fog in the morning. So if you are traveling, please do keep that in mind because it does affect the visibility. Taking a look at our satellite and radar, those beautiful springtime temperatures unfortunately are not going to be lasting for very much longer. We have this cold front that's going to be bringing cooler temperatures into the Sunshine State. However, I know a lot of us are really excited for spring break, and the cooler temperatures aren't really going to ruin it for anyone. Taking a look if you're traveling across the nation to see someone you love, or just to take a slight holiday break from school, let's take a look at our temperature trends. Above average for the western part of the state, much cooler going inward. Same with precipitation. Even in the Sunshine State, we could be seeing some above average precipitation. Jumping to our 6-day outlook, keep in mind that Sunday, daylight savings is starting, but it's going to be a beautiful week all around. Back to you, ladies.
Hey, Isabella, it's everybody's favorite season. And what season would that be? I bet Will knows.
Oh yes, it's combine season, a chance for NFL teams to drool over prospects running around in shorts. No, really, that's basically what it is. And one man in shorts ran faster than most. That was former Gator quarterback Anthony Richardson. AR took the roof off of Lucas Oil Stadium with a record-breaking combine performance. That and a whole lot more in Gator Athletics, next on Sports.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. I'm Will Levenson. Here's what's happening in the wonderful world of sports. The NFL is buzzing after what former Florida Gator Anthony Richardson did at the scouting combine this weekend. Richardson broke the NFL combine record by a quarterback for highest vertical jump and longest broad jump. His blazing 4.43 40-yard dash was the fourth fastest by any quarterback ever in NFL combine history. Simply put, Anthony Richardson was perfectly curated in the lab. This man is a freak of an athlete and has the full attention of the NFL. From the old to the new, Wisconsin transfer quarterback Graham Mertz appears to be the heir to Richardson's throne. Donning the same iconic number 15 once worn by Tebow and Richardson himself, we got our very first look at Mertz and the entire Gator squad Saturday on the first day of spring practice. If Mertz wants to live up to the number 15 expectations, well, he'll have to work for it. Offensive lineman Austin Barber said Mertz has been embracing the grind.
You know, Graham Mertz puts a lot of work, and he's in this building every single, 24 hours. I never see him leave. When I leave, his car's still here. When I get here, his car's here. So it's just, I'm happy he's putting the work in.
Florida will continue spring practice this week on Tuesday and Thursday. To the Diamond, where Gators baseball got a big series win over rival Miami. The Hurricanes and Gators, it's an annual series that never disappoints, and it certainly didn't this year. These two teams are not too fond of one another, and we saw plenty of trash talk throughout the weekend. But the Gators got the last laugh with a hitting explosion Sunday and a 14-4 win in the rubber match. It was a day of dingers, my friends, as Gator hitters smashed 4 home runs in the win. The 6th-ranked power-hitting Gators now sit at 10-3 on the year. They turn their attention to another South Florida opponent as the FAU Owls will make the trip up to Gainesville for a pair of games on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's what it sounded like as Colin Castleton took his final walk through Billy Donovan Court on senior night. The 5th-year center's career at Florida is over. His season ended weeks ago due to a broken hand. But as for players on the court, the Gators capped off the regular season with back-to-back wins. Florida stormed back from a 12-point second-half deficit to complete the season sweep over LSU, 79-67. What a week for freshman guard Riley Kugel. who's has averaged 20 points over his last 3 games. He put down 21 in Saturday's win, earning him SEC Freshman of the Week. The win clinched Florida a bye week in the SEC tournament as they prepare to face Mississippi State on Thursday. An energetic Donald R. Disney Stadium saw a big Gator lacrosse win Saturday. The Arizona State fans showed out in full force, making a cross-country trip to see their Sun Devils lose. Florida's offense set the net on fire with a 17-goal performance. A true team showing, 5 Gators scored multiple goals. The second straight win makes Florida 3-2 on the year, their lone 2 losses coming to top 10 foes. Next up for the Gators, it's another top 10 matchup as they'll face a top 10 team, Loyola Maryland, next week.
Thanks, Big Will. BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
And your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.